Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So how many weddings did you go to this weekend?
Oh, geez, just one last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you were done.
No, it was literally 3 in a month, but I don't have any more this summer.
Okay,
So
good. You've been released. Did you wear the same suit to all of them?
no, I did not.
Oh,
No.
no. That's not very
Well,
efficient.
I mean, I just had some suit pants and a button-down shirt and a tie for one of them.
Sure.
And one of them was like I was in the wedding party, so it was like a specific suit I had to buy.
Right, of
And
course.
then
Of course.
the one last night was just, another. I mean, it was the same shoes at least. That was about the shoes and belt, and maybe pants overlapped on one of them.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Uh-huh. Now, one of those was a destination wedding, right? And the other two
yeah,
hopefully were a
yeah,
little more convenient?
yeah, yeah. The one was in Hawaii, and then
Yeah.
the other two were in town. One was like an hour south of town, but still
Uh-huh.
not too bad.
Is it safe to say that like destination weddings are kind of inconvenient for people?
I mean, I would say it was inconvenient, but I wouldn't say it was
Unenjoyable? It was still
unenjoyable.
enjoyable?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
We made it into something that was, nice. It'd
Sure.
be weird if we did like a destination wedding and then it's just like a crappy place or something that was just like, oh, this isn't very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the people that are planning the wedding often just kind of like, I think it's a time where you can be a bit selfish, right? Like I totally understand
Yeah.
that. But it always seems to me, I've never done a destination wedding. I've never been to one, but it seems like it can be kind of a stretch for some people, but I don't know. I have no idea how it feels to go.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I'm in a place in life where I wasn't like breaking the bank to do it.
Yes.
It was kind of a thing where plus it was my girlfriend's friend.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like someone that I was like super close to, but made it into something that it was enjoyable
Yeah.
for everyone. So
Have you been to Hawaii before?
no, never had. It
Uh-huh.
was pretty cool.
Gorgeous, I bet.
Yeah, I mean the weather is just so great. Like it depends on time of year, obviously, but when we were there, it was like, late, at night, it gets down to, I would say low 70s, high 60s Fahrenheit, up to 85, maybe 90 at the really hottest part of the day, which is really not that bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty good.
considering the fluxes and being from the Midwest, it's like the ups and downs of temperature can be 30, 40 degrees in a day sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, kind of remarkable that this part of the world, like it can get super super hot in the summer, and it obviously gets super super cold in the winter. And I have no idea how like the infrastructure holds up, like how glass stays on buildings, or like how like the wiring, all the external there's just so much. Sometimes there's like an 80-degree, like, well, I guess that's in Celsius. I'm not even sure what the Fahrenheit conversion is, but there's a wild swing in temperature for some of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, when you have, things implemented in your house and stuff like that, different parts of the world that, there's different things taken into account at that time. Just, things are built with a better sealants on things when it's, going to be, cold, like freezing part of the year and then hot some of the year. They have to put probably higher quality stuff on the, I don't know. I don't build houses, but
neither do I. Going back to Hawaii for 1 second. How do you feel? Like, did you have a chance to get in the water at all? Like, I've been swimming I've been swimming in the ocean, but I've always kind of like feared like some of like I fear the sea. Like, I don't want to step on a weird urchin. Like, I've never really gone in for like parasailing, that kind of thing. How adventurous did you get when you were out there?
Well, so I think one of the pictures I posted in the channel was like in this area that was kind of a lagoon. So it wasn't like the waves crashing in that area type of a thing. So it was able to kind of be like
It's a
a
bit
fairly
sheltered.
sandy beach. Yeah,
Right.
like I think there's a lot of places where if you just like went to the shoreline, it would just not be very friendly. But the places that are like designated beaches, like one of the resort I was at the end of it, there was a pretty nice beach that went a decent ways out, but you got to be careful with what you're doing, because like I was wading out, and it's like gets to about waist high, a little bit higher than that, and that's pretty far out there because it was pretty shallow all the way out. But once I got to a certain spot, I didn't see that there was this giant rock just below the water's surface, and
Oh.
I just ran my knee into it and just
Ooh.
cut my knee open,
Ooh.
so it's like you guys gotta watch what you're doing. But for the most part, it was actually not too bad. I mean, in the areas that we were in anyway. But again, we chose areas specifically with that in mind, where we were like we
Sure.
kind of want to go out in the water a little bit.
Yeah.
We weren't like in the ocean all the time or anything, but it was, at least a few days that we were there.
Yeah. Makes it memorable. That's cool. And now, like you
Hmm.
said, like that's the last. You've done all the weddings now, so you can just kind of
Yeah,
coast for the rest of the summer, hopefully.
yeah, that's the hope anyway.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite season?
I guess I would say spring.
Mm-hmm.
Spring into early summer.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my favorite time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Me
being
too.
from the Midwest, that's when it's the nicest. Where it's
Yeah.
like you're like, finally the snow is gone, and I get to enjoy this. And then the
Uh-huh.
summer lasts like 2 months, and then it's back to nasty weather again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like the fall more. I don't really like the fall that much because it's like an omen of the snow that's
Exactly.
coming.
Yeah. It's always been like melancholic for me. I understand that the fall is beautiful, and I understand all the reasons why people love the fall. But for me, like
Yeah,
the vibe of the spring is just like upswing, hopeful. Like there's just so many
yeah.
nice things I
Like
associate.
the end of spring, start of summer is probably my like where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I would say is the best. Where there's really good like local produce and stuff like that that's coming out right
Mm.
now. Like
Mm-hmm.
strawberries in this area are just so
Mm-hmm.
good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just love that too.
Mm-hmm. Wicked. Well, I mean, thanks for making time to chat today, man. Thanks for jumping on the call.
Sure.
Quick preamble. I'm working on like a small interview series. It's kind of like a summer project. Something to focus on as like people kind of scatter away from dad. Like,
Hmm.
I wasn't really feeling too motivated to keep making content like about that title. There's not another game that like has kind of captured my interest, and I'm feeling really motivated to like to do this kind of thing. There's
Hmm.
lots of really interesting people in the Discord. Everyone already kind of knows each other. And so I figured I would just kind of take it a step further and just do, like casual convos and talk about gaming, get to know people a
Yeah.
bit better, and then just, make some videos out of that and put it up.
Cool.
Yeah. So Xioxyde, welcome to I think I'm gonna call it the Watercooler pod.
All right.
Welcome to the Watercooler.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thanks
time.
for having me.
Uh-huh. The first question I have for you is related to your name. I'm asking everyone the same first question. What is the origin of your handle, of your Discord name?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess it goes back a little bit. I would say around the time that I first started even coming up with a handle on the internet, I used the name Murdoch, but it's a
Uh-huh.
fairly like common, I guess, ish name where I couldn't really get. I don't like having numbers on the end of my name. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's not just not something I like having because it feels very like just I don't know, robotic, I guess, or you're just like
Sure.
a one of many.
Mm-hmm.
Like to sort of stand out a little bit. So I tried to look for something else. I was just like playing some game. I don't even remember what it was, but there was a character that was called Monoxide in it, and I just
Mm-hmm.
liked the idea, like that feel of the name. But then I didn't want it to be something so generic like that. So I just kind of put a spin on it, and I was like, oh, this kind of is different. And then I added a bit of a different spelling, and then
Yeah.
just landed on Xioxide, and it was something that no one ever takes. So
Yeah.
it's
You
where I
got
landed.
it's like Greenfield. Yeah.
Yeah.
Must feel good to get a name that you feel good about, that you think is cool, is interesting, but is also completely available on like every game and
Yeah.
platform.
Well, I will say that, similarly to you, I mean, a number of people have struggled pronouncing it when you don't get to introduce yourself in a voice
Yeah.
context. It's like they take a stab and they're like, this is
Xioxyde? Yeah.
I. Sometimes you get people that get it right, like Ryan 6 days a week when he mentioned me in chat the
Yeah.
first time I said something, he got it right the first time. I was like,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
But most people just call me Zio, so that's fine. I really don't mind that at all.
Uh-huh. What is the proper pronunciation?
Is Xioxide is the full
Xioxide.
name,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
again, it's like that's like a calling someone by their full legal name almost at this point for me, where I'm just
Uh-huh.
used to going by Zio, so it's
Uh-huh.
but Zio is too short and generic that I can't just use that now, even though I
Fair.
probably would if I could.
Fair.
It's just
You know what? The
yeah,
best names, dare I say, are names that like have their kind of like full version, but then have like a nice kind of like
yeah,
cute or satisfying like truncated
like
version, you know?
yeah, like a acronym or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And what part of the world are you currently in?
Midwest USA.
Midwest US. And when were you born? In the 90s, the 2000s, in the 80s, in the latter
Born in
half,
late
or
80s.
the earlier half of the decade?
Yeah, born in late 80s. So I was, grew up in the 90s.
Uh-huh. Awesome. And what do you do for work these days? And you don't need to go into any
I,
details, but just whatever you're comfortable with.
yeah, so I used to be in software engineering, and then I moved into more of a project leading role. So I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
managing projects and financials and, working with teams of engineers basically for
Mm-hmm.
software projects.
Got a bit of exposure to the space.
Yeah.
I kind of work on more of like the design UX, like interface side of
Mhm.
things. I'll get into that a bit later. So, okay, it is ostensibly a podcast about gaming. So the first kind of like gaming related question I have for you is, can you list the top one or two different types of games you love to play?
Yeah, sure. Uh, I guess I would give the extraction PV, fantasy, I guess PvE extraction game genre be one of them now.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me that 5 years ago, I would not have answered that even close. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, I guess, a newish genre that's definitely sparked my interest. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
the other one would be roguelike games.
Mm.
So fairly, I would even you keep that broad and say just roguelikes in general because I've played several different types of roguelike type games that
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed from which started all the way back with Binding of Isaac, I think was the first one that really
Uh,
got me hooked into that
uh-huh.
replayability, random runs where you like are kind of destined to fail at some point and then start again
Yeah.
and have a look for a good lucky run where you get really good
Items or
RNG
whatever.
and you can
Yeah,
make it
yeah,
through. Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I guess what you're saying here, I never really thought of it. That the fantasy extraction, like a fantasy PvPvE extraction game, is pretty novel in the landscape of titles. I guess extraction games have been around for a while,
hmm
but like a fantasy version of that is a fairly recent emergence. Would you say?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, it seems like Dark and Darker kind of paved the way for that. Which, I mean, when I first saw Dark and Darker, it definitely was kind of just looked like a game that I wouldn't even really enjoy that much. But
Mm-hmm.
I happened to try it during the playtest. I would say fairly late in the playtest. I guess it was like playtest 4 or something like that. I think is when I
Mm-hmm.
started. Like I think I'd heard about it prior to that, but just watched footage and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it, and it was definitely not for me at first, but eventually I just had the determination to get into it,
Figure it out.
and
Yeah, yeah. Give
yeah,
it a good go. That's so funny you say that. I remember like we have a TV in the living room. We don't have like a cable service. We just have like like a Twitch app and a YouTube on like, and that's the TV basically. And my wife was watching. I think it was XQC, and he was
okay,
playing this like really orangey yellow brown game. And there was like skeletons and there was a mummy, and I remember thinking like, ugh, what the hell is that crap? Right. And like, and
yeah,
then it was only later on I was watching someone in like the pay money wubby orbit. I think it was maybe Carlos was like in the goblin caves, and I was like, wait a second, this is the same game that XQC was playing like months ago. And I was like, what is this game actually? Oh, I see. It's more like it's a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's just so funny that my first blush with the game, like seeing it in passing, I was just completely grossed out and disinterested in it.
mhm,
Little did I know that it'd become like I don't know how I would spend like 2 full years of my life.
yeah, yeah,
um,
it definitely stuck up on me. I mean, I've always loved dungeon delving in general, but
yes,
like it's I feel like a lot of games just don't do it in a way that's very satisfying to me, and I think
sure.
that just scratches a lot of itches for me that like the having loot diversity and like feeling like you're adventuring and looking for something that is meaningful,
Uh huh.
um, but and not somehow making it not get boring after the 30th time that you go and do the same level.
Yeah, totally. What were some of your first dungeon experiences? Like, if you've got like a nostalgia, maybe you have an affinity for, you like the dungeon. Was it tabletop? Was it early video games? Where did that come from?
It was definitely not tabletop. I have dabbled in tabletop, but it was really kind of a later in life thing.
Interesting.
Um, I it's hard to say where it started. I guess I don't even know that I would necessarily count it as a dungeon game, but some of the old like Gauntlet
Oh
games were
yeah,
kind of that style of just like
fantasy dungeon. They were
looting thing.
dungeons. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were dungeons.
yeah.
Elf needs food
I
badly.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I would have to say it was somewhere around there of just like, spell casting and knights and all that stuff.
Hmm.
I, I could probably pinpoint it further than that if I really thought about the question, but that's my first
Hmm.
thought, I guess.
Hmm. How do you define roguelike games for people who maybe don't know?
I would call them first of all, I would consider them to be almost a hardcore experience where it's you,
Hmm.
you have to be very patient.
Hmm.
But basically, what kind of sets them apart is being randomly generated levels or basically randomly generated experiences where
Hmm.
every time that you play it, it's never going to be the same. And I mean, there's roguelike and roguelite, which are there's
Hmm.
kind of a bit separate genres of that, but roguelite kind of indicates that there's progression in between runs where you are unlocking things that make your future runs easier, type of thing. Which
Yes.
not every game is like that, but I do enjoy both, I would say. But yeah, mostly the random generation I think is like the big key thing for
Uh-huh. And
roguelike.
a kind of permadeath, like hardcore experience, like
Yes,
you say.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Permadeath and you know all so I found myself sometimes during those where I'm just like I wouldn't mind if I died here just to get going again, just to start a run anew and go
Uh-huh.
from the beginning.
Uh-huh. I think my first experience with a I'm not sure. I think it's a roguelike. It's a full-on roguelike. It was called Pixel Dungeon. It was a mobile game.
Mm,
And
okay.
it was such a charming, like simple look at the genre, but like you kind of tap to move around. Really, really cute and like pixel art style. Really, really hard. You had to really get good items. You had to get a good run going. And I remember thinking like, how can anyone ever get far in this game? And I played it for like a year casually, and I think I only beat the end boss maybe like 3 times, but like it was like, oh
Mm.
my god, it's possible. Like it was so satisfying when things would line up and you get on a good run and you can actually go far, if not like beat the game. Super, super satisfying. Cool. Let's see here. How many games did you purchase in the past 12 months?
How many games did I purchase in the past 12 months? That's a
Hmm.
good question. I would say somewhere, I mean, I guess if you count things that things that I've spent money on, or kind of, buying the game is a little bit fluid these days,
Yeah,
but
I
I,
know.
I guess
Yeah.
I would say somewhere between, I guess, 6 and 12, roughly, if I had to
Hmm.
guess.
Hmm.
It's difficult because I sometimes buy games when they're on sale and then don't actually play them right away.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hard to remember when I buy things, but I do. I guess I don't do it as much as I used to, but I do play a lot of VR games. So especially
Ah,
when I buy things for VR, they'll sit there until I'm in a VR
VR space.
mood,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you have to be kind of in the right headspace to play VR, but
Yeah.
I usually go in spurts with it where I'll play a lot of VR and then I just like won't play it at all for like a full year.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like something new comes on, I'm like, "Oh, I got to play that again." And
Do you have
sometimes I'll go to the old backlog of games that I'll buy for VR.
sure. Did you ever play Quiver for VR?
Uh-huh, yep.
Oh
Yep. I was a
man.
very early adopter of VR. I mean, I guess early from what I remember. It was like probably like 2016 or something like
Yeah,
that when
me
I bought my
too.
first VR
Yeah,
headset. Yeah.
I consider myself an early adopter from like a consumer perspective. Like I wasn't in any of the labs or anything, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But as soon as there was a commercially available headset, I got an HTC Vive.
Yep,
Um,
that's what I got it too. Yeah, that was my
yeah,
starter headset.
wicked. Um, that's cool, man.
Since then, I've upgraded to the Vive Pro for my PC headset, and then I also have the Valve Index controllers because
Nice.
they're compatible with the Vive headset, but the Vive controllers are terrible. So
I see.
I ended up getting the Index controllers, and then I also have a Quest 3 now. So
Dang.
um, yeah, I've got three headsets technically, but only like two of them are in a usable state.
Awesome. I'm gonna make a note for another question about that in a second here. Okay, and then how do you feel about PvP in games? I know it's not for everyone. People have a different perspective
Yeah.
on the player versus player experience, but how do you feel about PvP in games?
I think if it's designed with PvP in mind, generally PvP can feel good, and I guess like I almost feel like it has to be like a consensual thing. If that's a weird thing to say, but
Hmm.
like there's a lot of games that force it on you, and when you are wanting to do one particular aspect of the game, you like
Hmm.
either have to do this or you it's just part of the experience, and it's not always something that you want to be doing at that time.
Hmm.
As an example, like probably where it first started, I mean, if you go all the way back to like Halo, I mean, Halo is a PvP game, like from
Hmm.
like a multiplayer experience, is like one of the first ones that really got me into just like shooter PvP.
Hmm.
But that's obviously something you're queuing in a match. There's teams or free for all or whatever, and that's like a dedicated like PvP experience. Like you're PvPing in that. But then like I was also a World of Warcraft player back in
Ah.
its original release 2006, which
Uh-huh.
I ended up playing on a PvP server because other friends were on a PvP server, so I like kind of had to. But
Uh-huh.
it's like you're out in the main world with that, and you're just like questing, and then you can just like get ganked by a rogue out of nowhere that you had no idea was there, and then it's
Uh-huh.
like, I gotta run back to my body now. So like
Uh-huh.
in that sense, I don't really enjoy that aspect of PvP. I
Hmm.
will say that the extraction genre definitely made me more favorable towards it. When I
Hmm.
first started playing Dark and Darker, especially, I was just like super avoiding PvP when I was just trying to like learn the game.
Hmm.
But being 1,700 hours deep into it now, I'm just like looking for fights more often, unless
Hmm.
I'm AP grinding or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, generally speaking, I do enjoy PvP. It's just some games just don't do it very well.
Yeah, and you
That's the
think that that optionality feature is really important, like
Yeah,
to make the
for sure.
experience like accessible or satisfying for all members involved. Because I think you're right. If someone is pushed into a kind of obligatory PvP when there's other things that the game is kind of asking you to do, that can cause friction. That can be annoying.
Yeah, even if it's not directly forcing you into it, like as an example, Destiny 2 or Destiny and Destiny 2, I played pretty much since it originally came out back in
Hmm.
2014 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really enjoy the PvE aspects of Destiny, raid bosses and PvE content felt very like a lot of effort put into it, and it seemed very like a curated experience to where you're doing a challenging task, and it's like there's mechanics and stuff like that you're doing, but in order to be prepared for those, a lot of times you're forced to go into PvP matches to like
Mm.
you have to get 600 rep with this vendor this week in order to like get a powerful drop so you can make your gear better to be able to do the
Mm.
raid. I did not like that at all. I
Mm-hmm.
was like I was just dreading having to do that. It was like a chore that I was on my task list, and
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, thinking over the past year or so, this is going back to maybe like when Dark and Darker launched on Steam. It seems like it seems like years ago,
Mhm.
but it was just last year. It doesn't have to be dad related, but can you think of a particularly memorable moment you had in gaming over the past year?
Like my own personal experience, or just in the gaming space
I
in
I
general.
think your personal experience in a game with a game is what I'm interested in.
Hmm. That is I guess, good question. I will say over the past year of Dark and Darker, which honestly has been a lot of my gaming over the last year, to be honest.
Yes.
There has been other things that I have done. Picking up random other extraction games and stuff like that, but most of those
Mm-hmm.
haven't really been that memorable, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I will say like memorable things have honestly been it sounds like I'm glazing, but like a lot of things in this community, like doing like events with the community, like the deathmatch events or just like the
Yeah.
wyvern hunts, things like that have been very memorable. Also just like personal specific things, I guess, just like going through the act of like specifically learning Spectral Knight and like learning the
Uh-huh.
mechanics of that and getting things down like that was very satisfying to me.
Uh-huh.
And just being able to like say like, oh, this was something that I previously avoided, like the plague is now something I'm like actively seeking out, and just
Uh-huh.
like leveling up in like a skill perspective for things like that has been great.
Uh-huh. Is it because Dark and Darker really was like a pretty inaccessible, very difficult game? So like actually
Yeah.
learning how to fight other players, learning how to boss, learning how to survive consecutive raids,
Yeah.
like is kind of an achievement in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like there hasn't been like a ton of experiences with this, but just being able to like go into HR now where previously I wouldn't even want to do it, and then
Mm-hmm.
like killing a much higher geared team than me, and
Mm-hmm.
like looking at their stuff and having this realization that, oh, those were geared people and I just beat the crap out of them,
Mm-hmm.
like that
Mm-hmm.
like that stuff is like just super
Yeah,
satisfying.
you're a tough cookie, Zio. I'll say it. Yeah, there's always like talking about community events. Like, um, this is gonna sound like I'm glazing, but there aren't that many people in the community where I would actually get nervous if I knew it was them. But you are certainly on that short list where if I knew it was you, there'd be kind of this like, oh no, in the back of my head.
It is funny when you realize who someone is and you can change your play style to
Yeah.
accommodate that. Whereas
Yes.
if you just knew it was someone totally random, you would play differently. But it's like
Yes.
if I know like for example, like the other way around, if I know I'm playing against you, it's like I know I can't just like left click my staff and aim for the head. I have to go for the feet because I know you're gonna block.
Right.
And I know you're gonna put it in the right spot to block. I don't get to like try to like squeak one around the side of the shield or whatever. I have to like actually, fake you out or whatever. So
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. Well, it sounds like we're in each other's heads rent free, which is kind of a
yeah,
nice thing.
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I got a little bit of a lightning round for you. Are you ready?
Okay.
Don't feel obligated to go. It's no big deal. Who cares? Just like, don't feel obligated to go any deeper than you want to go for the responses here. Okay. Lightning round. What's your favorite thing to drink?
Favorite thing to drink? I will say that I have a guilty pleasure for Mountain Dew.
Like OG Mountain Dew? Like the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. I've had all these other kinds of flavors. None of them are good. Just the original.
What is the underlying? I've never really spent time focusing on Mountain Dew. What's the flavor supposed to be?
That's a good question.
Is it just supposed to be Mountain Dew? Like there's not supposed to be like a.
I think it's kind of like a citrusy type thing, but it's not. It's just I guess like just a different taste than like a Sprite or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna.
don't know.
I'm gonna get
I
some.
never really thought about the flavors.
I'm
but
interested.
yeah,
If it's ice cold, I bet you it's delicious.
yeah.
Yeah. What was the first PC that you or your family had?
Oh boy. I guess this counts as a PC. It was like it was an old DOS machine. We had this. It's like this thing where you have to like reach around the back and flip up physical switches to turn it on on both the monitor and the. Yeah, it ran these like big. I don't even remember what they like.
Like breakers.
Well, no, it was just like a physical switch. I can't even remember the brand of the thing, but.
Right.
Anyway, it like took those like really big floppy disks
5 1/4
as one of the 5 1/4 disks. Yeah. I think it had a 3.5 port too, but like basically everything that we played on it or used with it was the
big discs.
big floppies. Yeah.
And they had like
that was
sleeves like records. Remember, you pull them out of the.
Yeah. And then there was like a hole in the middle because of the hole in the center of the.
They were actually floppy.
Yeah.
I feel like they were the only discs that were actually floppy, and like the name just stuck.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like these 3.5s are not floppy at all.
No, they're quite rigid actually.
Yeah.
So it was an old DOS box, you say? Probably like, was it a 386 or was it earlier than that? It was probably earlier than that.
It was running DOS. I think at some point we installed Office 95 on it, but it was pretty awful. Yeah, I really don't remember. I was probably like between 3 and
you were young.
7 years
Yeah,
old. When
you were young.
I was pretty young.
Yeah, not to get too kind of stuck in the mud here in the lightning round, but I have to pull on the threads that I'm interested in. There's something so exciting almost about like the DOS interface, as lame as that is to say. Like there's something about you couldn't see the contents of the computer, but you had to kind of navigate from memory. You had to like type the commands. It felt like maybe the analogy is this: I've never really driven a manual transmission in a car, but I know enough about driving to know that that's actual driving. Like when you're responsible for shifting the gears in a manual transmission, you are driving a car, right?
Yeah. I mean, the first car that I owned was a manual, and it's different for sure.
Yeah, you become more one with the vehicle, right? Like you're more in touch with it. I feel the same thing is there when you're kind of like navigating like a DOS machine through the kind of console. There's something more fundamental about that I really liked.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because like I learned a lot about DOS from my uncle when I was a kid, and he was pretty big into computers and taught me how to, find what I was looking for, how to start games, or how to find something that was saved somewhere that I had no idea where it was, and found myself just kind of like looking through folders on my free time,
Yeah,
because like
totally.
back then there was not like the internet to do anything fun with. It was just like, oh, let's go into
You're
this
just
folder.
poking
Oh, let's go
around.
into this folder
Yeah,
and back out to the C drive and
yeah,
pop over to the D drive, see what's going on over
yeah.
there.
We had an old Packard Bell, and I remember a friend of my dad's. My dad was a computer guy, but he wasn't like he wasn't deep into it. And so the system was set up by his friend. And I remember there was a day I was doing that, and I guess this guy had like set up the computer with like a bunch of other games that my dad didn't know about. So like it was the most incredible experience where I'm just poking around other folders, and then I found other games. And I was like, holy crow, there's other games in this thing. And like it was just this like amazing treasure hunt where like you're just poking around, you don't expect it, but you find you find literal treasure, like a whole other game that you didn't know was there. It was that's not, you can't replicate that. I don't know, I'm getting kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Did you have a computer room in the house growing up?
Not really. I feel like the computer desk, which I mean, yeah, it wasn't a separate room, but it was kind of adjacent to the kitchen and just kind of faced into the kitchen, I
Right,
guess. That was the majority of at least
right,
when I was young. When we got older, it was like we had one in the basement and,
right,
stuff like that.
right. Would you consider yourself a Nintendo kid or a Sega kid?
Nintendo. I got my introduction to gaming was I got an SNES when I was probably like 4, so like
Yeah.
early 90s. I didn't like it at first. My parents tell me the story all the time that it's like, because now I'm so into gaming now. They're like, they basically had to force me to play it because they were like, they bought this expensive console and Super Mario World, and I was like, died the first time. I was just like, I'm done with this. But eventually I got back to it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely Nintendo. I never had a Sega,
Uh-huh.
anything like that.
Yeah, me neither.
I went from SNES to N64, so
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the jump that I had.
Mm-hmm. Nintendo kid. Cool. What's the one candy or snack that you just have to buy if you go to the convenience
Mhm.
store?
I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
gummy stuff fan and sour candy, so I would
Mm-hmm.
say Sour Punch straws is probably my go-to,
Sour Punch
or
straws.
Sour Punch Kids,
Sour Punch Kids.
Sour
Sour
Patch
Patch
Kids
Kids. Yeah,
rather.
Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the Sour Punch straws. They're kind of like a long, hollow straw with sour,
Uh,
sugar on the outside.
uh-huh. Yeah, for me, the sour gummy worms, that's like 10 out of 10
Hmm.
for me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
can you cook? And if so, do you have a specialty dish?
I can some. I'm definitely not a chef. I've never worked in food service or anything, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have any professional training. But I would say I started caring about it around the start of COVID because I had a lot of free time at home and
Sure.
stuff. So I kind
Yeah.
of did some YouTube learning, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I do have a specialty dish, but it is mac and cheese. It's a nice like bake like I
Mm.
do this. I have like it's like a combination of a couple recipes that I found where I basically make I take like onions, pickled jalapenos,
Mm-hmm.
white wine, peppercorns, and basically just kind of reduce that down to like a very small amount of liquid to kind of concentrate the flavor. Then I infuse that
Uh,
into heavy cream
uh-huh.
and then use that to melt cheese. And I use either American cheese or sodium citrate to kind of emulsify it and turn it into this
Ah.
really glossy,
Uh-huh.
creamy, cheesy, yeah. And then just put mix the noodles into that and bake it, and it's really good. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
People compliment it all the time because it's like a little bit spicy, but it doesn't have like chunks of
Mm-hmm.
jalapeno or onion or anything. It's just the flavor, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just infused into the cheese. So everyone loves it every time I
Mm-hmm.
make it.
Yeah, that flavor reduction cheese sauce you described sounds amazing.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
any kind of baked pasta dish I think is next level too. You get a nice little crust on
Yep.
top, but like everything is, ooh, that's thank you for that. I'm gonna think about that later. What's the longest gaming session you've ever had? And if I could modify this question a little bit, because I know you said you were into VR, could you give me
Hmm.
like PC desktop gaming session, but also like VR gaming session?
Yeah. So I guess probably the longest session I've had was probably in high school era back when I was playing World of Warcraft. There was
Sure.
times where I was staying at my buddy's house and I brought my computer over there and we,
Uh-huh.
were in the same guild and everything playing, and it was literally like we wake up, start playing when we wake up, we would take breaks to like go eat food,
Yeah.
and that's about it, and come
Yeah.
back and play. It would be so like if you don't count that, it was like literally like an entire day.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally.
um, yeah.
What was your class
VR.
before you jump
Sorry.
into VR? What was the class in WoW
Oh,
that you were
I
playing?
was a, I was a
A
warlock.
warlock. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
enough about WoW to ask an intelligent question from there. I just was curious. I'm sure other people are curious.
Yeah, I was I kind of fell backwards into raiding in World of Warcraft, but it ended up being a yeah, just I just mained Warlock and went through all the bumps of of you wouldn't know, but there's a lot of different skill, or I guess skill requirement for Warlock in the past. But
Uh-huh. Wasn't the guy who founded Ethereum, he was like so pissed off that like WoW nerfed his warlock, and so he quit WoW and he like started working on the Ethereum project. I think that was the story.
yeah, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I can't remember any specifics on that, but
Yeah.
that sounds familiar.
Okay. How about for VR? What's the longest session in VR?
Probably a couple hours. It's hard to say because like there's a lot of times I'll just like set the headset down for a little bit and just come back and stuff like that. But
Right.
a lot of times VR sessions are limited by controller battery life, and
Ah.
sometimes I forget to charge them. So usually that's what makes me stop.
Ah.
But yeah, I would say a couple hours to maybe a little slightly over than that.
Uh-huh.
It's just so hard to play VR for long periods of time. Even without that, it's just you get kind of you start losing touch with reality a little bit, and you start to
Yeah.
get a little bit dizzy in the headset.
Yeah.
I don't have too much of issue with motion sickness these days, but
Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes depending on the game, if the game is not smooth enough, it definitely adds
Mm-hmm.
to the fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the very beginning, I got a laptop that I thought was going to be strong enough to power my VR experiences, and it was not. And I was getting like 12 frames a second playing hover junkers, and it made me
Yeah.
so sick to my stomach that like I could only play for like
Yeah.
12 minutes at a time, and it's like I needed to get a replacement tower before I could finally get some decent FPS. But it is not a comfortable experience when you don't get the good frame rate in there.
Yeah, I started with my my last computer before this one.
Uh-huh.
It has like a GTX 1080.
Uh-huh.
No, nothing special about it, just a 1080
Uh-huh.
card, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, it worked for the pretty much the majority of my entry level, most of the entry level games.
Yes.
None of like the crazy ones. Sometimes struggled with, for especially on higher graphic settings, but
Uh-huh.
for the most part, it worked pretty well. Now I've got a better computer, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
I honestly like these days. I don't play that much VR as much as I used to, but most of the stuff that I play is like walkabout mini golf and stuff like that. But
Right.
I got into Beat Saber and all that. So
Yeah.
I was into rhythm games when I was a kid, so Beat Saber was right up my alley.
Yeah, rhythm games are really satisfying, and
Yeah,
especially in VR. Yeah,
I
awesome.
used to be in a DDR club back in high school, so that
Oh,
was yeah.
did you have like a did they have like what's the word for the console systems at the school, or did you have to go to like the arcade to like to practice?
So I had my own built computer at the time back in high school. It
Uh-huh.
was like the first one I ever built.
Uh-huh.
I had a Stepmania emulator on that, so it was like
Oh.
an emulated experience. Then we had like USB dance pads and stuff like that. And we, my teacher in high school at the time, my Japanese teacher, she allowed us to have DR club in her classroom at the end
Dang.
of the day, and so we had like probably like 4 or 5 computers that we brought in, and then like a couple like PlayStations running DDR console, like the console the console version.
Oh.
So we had like a good amount of people come and hang out. It was mostly just our friend group, but we had a few others come.
Oh, that sounds awesome, man. Cool. Okay, that's the lightning round. GG, you made it through. Good work.
Nice. Success.
Yeah, great. You've been so generous with your time. I've got two last questions here, and then I'll let you go.
All right.
Okay, cool. Right now, there are lots of games in early access currently. It seems like
Mhm.
early access is kind of par for the course for game development these days. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on early access games?
So I'm a bit torn on this, and I've soapboxed on this a little bit with my friend that is very against them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it's just a product of today's game development cycle. Being someone that's fairly involved with the software development process, I understand
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot that goes into making something, and getting something out the door to get it into people's hands is takes a lot of resources. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of game companies these days don't really have the ability to hire a proper QA team. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like they're essentially outsourcing
Mm-hmm.
the QA part of it just for the sake of essentially letting people play it early. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like, for the most part, assuming that it's done, and all this is with the assumption that the company is doing it with good faith, not like a rug pull type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's I guess like a mutually beneficial arrangement between the gaming company and the players, to where the players get to play something new and exciting, and the
Mm-hmm.
game company kind of gets free QA,
Mm-hmm.
um, to some extent. I mean, like, there's sometimes where you have to buy the game, so you're almost paying to be QA. So in cases that those cases, it's a little bit weird. That's kind of how I felt about, like, Legacy and stuff like that.
Yes.
I enjoy Legacy, but it felt like we were kind of paying to QA, considering
Yes.
how rough of a state that the game was in when they were
It
starting to
was
ask for money
rough.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for a lot of things, especially these games that do these free play tests, I think, I guess that's not necessarily what your question is as far as
No,
EA,
you're
but
good.
I think the play testing are like a really cool thing where people get to try something new for a short period of time, and it's like like a short term demo, and
Uh-huh.
you get to try it out. And I think, if I guess, to like get back to the like root of the question of like how do I feel about EA, I think if EA was not a thing, there would be a lot of games that would just die in development because they wouldn't be able to afford to finish them,
Yes.
or um, things like that. So I think there's a lot of good gaming experiences that we've been able to try, even for a little bit, even if they make it into EA, people play the game and they die out before that the game even releases. I think sometimes that's just what it's just like fast tracking. It's either success or failure, and
Yes.
sometimes that's what's needed.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing necessarily. Yeah. Thinking back to the old like Super Nintendo games or like cartridge games or even games that would ship on like PlayStation discs, right? Like for
Hmm.
so long, like there was no opportunity to kind of take advantage of this kind of early access playtest spectrum of kind
Yeah.
of crowdsourcing, crowd QA. How is it that so many games were produced like kind of behind closed doors like that? Like was it because the games were simpler? Was it because the games didn't have PvP so much?
Well, I think it's really just the fact that no games had the ability to patch afterwards, so they had to make sure that it was perfect when it went out the door or close to it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's so many games from back in the day that there's these glitches
There are
that exist,
glitches, right?
that still exist today, because there's no
Yes, they're
there's no
baked
way to
in.
update them,
Yeah.
right? So, but I mean, you can't send something out the door on a cartridge and then realize, oh, there's this game breaking bug that
Uh-huh. It's gonna
you
soft
can't,
lock the system,
people
you know?
can't get yeah,
Yeah.
like, that's just like not acceptable. Like, I don't even know
Uh-huh.
like what would happen if that, like, I've never even heard of that being a
Yeah.
thing from back in the day. So clearly, like, they actually had to hire QA
Uh-huh.
people to fully test everything. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously there's some like hidden glitches, like, oh, if you do this weird thing where you stand in this one pixel and jump over to the left 3 steps, and
Uh-huh.
like that type of things aren't caught typically, I would
The
guess.
average player is not going to experience that though, right? It's not going to
Yeah, right,
yeah.
exactly. So
Uh-huh.
you have to have a good amount of QA people that can play the game like any other random person would, and
Mhm.
if you do that enough times, I think it's pretty safe to put it on a piece of hard media and send it out the door, and
Uh-huh.
expect that it's never going to be updated again after that.
Uh-huh.
There's no oh, this is the day one patch. That's just not a thing back
Yeah.
then.
Do you think it's kind of similar to how back in the day, if you were trying to make a game for a cartridge, let's say, you only had so much space for the game, for the sounds, for the animations, and there was like a real push. There's a real artistry in compression and doing the most you could with the fewest pixels or like the fewest like
Yeah.
sound frequencies or whatever. And then
Yeah.
as like discs got bigger, as hard drives got bigger, it kind of almost allowed for like a laziness to kind of creep in because we did, you don't, we've got, the game can be 10 gigs, it's fine. We don't need to optimize all the textures to the nth degree. Like, is something similar happening with now there is an availability of like an audience that will kind of QA test, that will go through this EA process so that the devs themselves don't have to have so much of that kind of like resource spent internally?
Yeah, it's tough being so like intimately like close to the extraction genre specifically because
Sure.
any game where there's PvP, balance is such a big problem, I
Yes.
think, for any developer. Like I,
Yes.
I can't imagine being like, Bungie back in the day when they were trying to like make the Halo experience that was just going out to people's discs, and people are going to have LAN parties, not connecting to the internet, not connecting to Xbox Live to download a patch. It's just like, this is the game and you're going to PvP with people, and somehow there's not going to be one super overpowered thing in the game.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
somehow magically like worked out that it was relatively balanced. I
Yeah.
mean,
Sure.
depending on who you ask, I'm sure, but yeah, I mean, the games where it's an early access experience that relies on people to play it and tell like, is this a good feeling experience, or is there one class that's just like beating the crap out of everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, again, it's outsourcing those that, I guess, just playing the game repeatedly to see those things come to the surface. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just gaming in general these days, there's, if you compare to even what it was like 20 years ago, where nowadays, with the free exchange of YouTube videos of guides, and
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
can just make a 20-minute YouTube video and tell you all the secrets of the game, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to spend that time figuring anything out anymore. It makes balance, imbalances very obvious.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Last question, and then I'll let you go. And thanks again for your time. This has been really cool. This has been a great conversation. Is there any specific kind of game that you hope comes out in the next 1 or 2 years?
Well, I will say that ever since I've kind of like stopped playing World of Warcraft here and there, I've
Hmm.
been really looking for a good MMO experience that hooks me, and
Sure.
I feel like there hasn't really been a great one since World of Warcraft. Like, there's been some that have, they've been fun for a year, but I'm talking like those multi-year, multi-patch, like
Like a deep
multi-expansion
relationship
packs,
with
and
an MMO game.
yeah,
Yeah.
where you like feel like you care a lot about the progression of your character, and progression moves from one thing to the other. Like Destiny was probably the other closest thing for me, but even that was a fairly shallow, you know, not a very social game. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
there's no like social spaces, no guild hall, no
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I'm really hoping something like that comes out. That's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that'll be, what it'll look like. I mean, the I think it was like Chrono Odyssey or something was the most recent thing that like showed up, that was like, oh, that looks interesting, but it doesn't necessarily look like something that's going to be like, oh, the
Mm-hmm.
next big thing. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like a thing that might be fun for 6 months, and sometimes that's fine, but
Mm-hmm.
I am hoping for the next big thing that will hook me for several years, and keep me in it.
Uh-huh. What makes a great MMO? Like, what are some of the ingredients there that would hook you, that would draw you in and keep your attention for those timescales?
I will say that, like I said, like the social aspect to it is a big thing. Being
Yeah.
able to like have enough there that keeps people logging in every day, and you can be like, hey, this my friend came online. We can jump in a party and go do like a few dungeons together,
Yeah.
and regular updates. I think like good end game content is a big thing. Like leveling
Yeah.
up is obviously like a big thing that keeps people playing there initially, but
Uh-huh.
there has to be tangible things at the end of the game that's just like, this is a something to strive for. This is something
Yeah.
to keep me engaged and wanting to constantly improve my character to be able to like keep moving forward. There it can't be just something where you do the end game thing, you beat it, and you're like, okay, I'm done. There has to be something that keeps you coming back. There has to be always something to like look for, whether it's just like, I'm looking for a new helmet upgrade, and it might
Mm-hmm.
take you a couple weeks to find one sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and that sometimes the reaching for that and looking for that is a big part of it.
Yeah,
But
it's really fun, really satisfying.
yeah, it's again, a lot of it is really the social aspect of it. I don't think I would have played World of Warcraft as long as I did if I didn't have my friend group that I was like excited to log in every day and talk to them and play games with them. You know, that's a big part of it.
Well, I guess the good news is like if and when like a major title like that comes around, I've never really had. I was never part of a WoW guild. I've never had like a, I don't know, like a pod of gamers that like I've been able to enjoy titles with, and so the good news from my perspective is like we've got the friends, now we just need the games.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Zio, thanks for your time, man. Thanks for jumping in and sharing your thoughts. It was a super interesting conversation.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We'll let you go, but really happy to have you in the community, and thanks for being around.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's a lot of cool people in the community, and even if it's not Dark and Darker that keeps us around, I'm sure whatever game it is, we'll have a good time playing.
I'll have a go with it. Okay, thanks, man. See you later.